All right, it's top of the hour. Hopefully everybody can hear me. We've had lots of fun trying to figure out AV issues on while everybody works from home. So hopefully you all can hear me and see my screen. Um, and we are going to have a good session here today on PeopleSoft Chatbots. So I appreciate everybody joining me today to talk about this, and let's get going. So happy to be with you today. My name is Cameron McClurg. I am with SpearMC. I've been with SpearMC Consulting for the last 2.5 years. Prior to that, I was working within various different PeopleSoft customers, with actually as a customer of Oracle, and prior to that, PeopleSoft, running PeopleSoft support groups, implementations, all of that type of work within organizations. So now I've jumped over to the other side and work within the consulting area, and I get to bring some of that same thought process of supporting and rolling out new functionalities, et cetera, looking into new emerging technologies from within an organization now to the consulting world. So very happy to be with you today. I'm out of the Seattle office, and this is a little bit about SpearMC. If you are familiar with us, most of you in this PeopleSoft space are familiar with SpearMC. I've been around for a while. Focusing in PeopleSoft is really our bread and butter. So while we going to talk about chatbots and emerging technology today, we've got a lot of stuff going on, whether it's hosting on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, doing work across all the different pillars, technical, functional, people to PUM services, all of that. We do everything PeopleSoft. We're one of the few that's still primarily and only focused on PeopleSoft. We've been around the country and expanded from San Francisco in 2004 all the way across the country, with our latest office being in Pittsburgh. But we are across the country, although in the COVID world and days, it's not actually as important where we are physically, because everybody's at home. And my home is in Seattle. We are proud to be, I believe, I could be mistaken on this, but I believe we're the only PeopleSoft Oracle partner that has this many sessions. We've got 7 full sessions during this week. And as you can see, we're only on the 3rd one. So I hope you guys get a chance to check back with us tomorrow as we talk about best practices in support services, candidate data privacy, extending PeopleSoft work centers, and the employee engagement survey. So you can go check all those out. And if you missed our Cabana one from earlier today, you can go check that out and see the recording. Okay, so today we are going to talk about chatbots. And this is our agenda. We're going to go through a little history about conversational interfaces. We'll talk about an overview of PeopleSoft chatbots. We'll dig into Oracle Digital Assistant and look at some demos, and then kind of pull back the covers a little bit on the technical setup, although we're not going to spend a lot of time on that because it does get a little bit technical. So we'll spend a lot more time on the concepts and business value that chatbots can bring for you. All right, so first, conversational interface. What's a conversational interface? Well, let's start with how many of these do you recognize? So if anybody can see this, what would this be? This is a telegraph. So if you're familiar with that, one of the first abilities to communicate long distances. If anybody is familiar with this is called an IBM shoebox, and what you could do is you could speak into it and do arithmetic. And this was at least 60, 70 years ago, so it's pretty impressive they were able to build that. This one's interesting. This is the ELIZA from MIT, and they would use pattern matching and substitution methodology that would make it appear as if you're talking to an actual psychotherapist. And you can see this question is something troubling you, and you can say mineral alike, and they would answer, what is the connection, do you suppose? So it would mimic a real conversation, although it had really no artificial intelligence. Of course, people probably remember that this eventually moved into gaming. You could actually use chat or text-based gaming to play a game. So it went beyond arithmetic and some psychotherapy into the gaming world. Of course, conversational interfaces have been around for a long time in pop culture too. So I'm going to play this, and hopefully you can hear this. Uh-oh, I think I stopped it prematurely. Let me start that up again. I'm having problems with my audio here. Let me play. Okay, I'm having problems with my videos, so I'm going to skip past these. These are some pop culture references to chat interfaces, which are kind of funny, but unfortunately, it's not going to work. And fortunately, it's the second time I've done this, and I just can't figure out how to get a video working over this. So I'm gonna skip past this for a second. And if you don't mind, just gonna make sure I'm doing okay here. All right. If you don't remember that, that was the 2001, and the astronauts are trying to figure out how to um, open the pod bay doors, and of course, Hal doesn't want to do that, and that's a very bad example of a conversational interface. Our chatbots and PeopleSoft are obviously much better. Anyway, all right. So let's get into this. So conversational interface is really, it's a interface for computers that emulates a conversation with a real human. Okay, makes sense. Instead of the user having to learn by navigating through a menu or entering the right information, which requires training, conversational interfaces can provide the opportunity for the user to speak naturally and for the machine to learn. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, these are the basic flows of a conversational interface. You have an interpretation of the intent of the user, so using a natural language processor, which is something that any chat client across different areas would be using an NLP. That natural language processor tries to match what you're trying to say into a dialogue flow, which then allows for retrieval of information and then passing that back into a conversational response. So let's take a look at something that is a normal example for anybody that works in an organization and has to track their time. So the goal of the conversational interface is to reduce friction. But let's take a look at this example and when you go and enter sick time. So the first thing somebody might have to do if they use PeopleSoft for their HCM and time tracking, they'd have to log in and they'd have to open Navigator and navigate to the right area of self-service, or perhaps they have Fluid and they have a tile, but regardless, they have to know where to go. Then they have to click on time reporting. They got to click on report time, report absence, and then select the absence type and type in the date from and date to, and they submit. Now, for everybody, that's pretty normal. That's what people are used to doing. You can learn how to do that very easily, but it does require a training element. In other words, you must teach the person how to do this, and maybe you don't need live instructor training. Probably you're going to do that with a help guide or some kind of easy step-by-step instructions. The bottom line is you have to push this out to the person, the user, and the user has to learn how to do it, and that creates a little bit of friction. If we brought it out to a different use case, you have lots of internal groups in your organization that answer repetitive questions. So the typical example of that, and it could be in any area of your organization, an end user, some kind of customer of that group has to pick up the phone or send an email and ask for help. There's a basic question that's asked. You have to then make sure that the person that's hearing it understands what's being asked. Then the helper then perhaps opens PeopleSoft, navigates the right space, looks up the information, maybe needs some required information like an employee ID, user ID. There has to be sort of an authentication. Are you who you say you are? Because I can't give information out if you're not who you say you are. And there's going to be a little bit of authentication that needs to happen there. And then the helper might respond with the answer and might not be giving the person what they were looking for. And you might have to repeat the whole process. Then users sitting there wondering how they can get their 10 minutes back. And in this day and age, that's just not good enough for people. And so this is really, while most people think of this as, oh, this is great because we're offering this high touch support. People can call us, we can answer questions for them. The reality is that actually isn't great customer service. It's better than a maybe offline text-based help, but at the end of the day, people are wanting more nowadays. So if we think about conversational interfaces, there is a changing demographic in the workforce. The workforce is not just getting younger; their expectations are changing too. So first, the it's getting younger. By within a decade, 50% of your workforce will be a millennial or Gen Z. And if we think about what are the impacts of that, not only employees going to accept functioning conversational interfaces, they're going to expect them. Okay, and so as I heard Dave Bain say yesterday on his People Tools session, chatbots are coming. Whether you want to accept that or not, you're going to need to plan for that at some point. It might be within the next year, it might be 5 years down the road, but you need to consider using chatbots effectively. So segue to PeopleSoft chatbots. So let's talk about the PeopleSoft chatbots and what's actually being delivered. So currently in the HCM and the financial space, you've got these 4 chatbots that are completely delivered. So on the HCM side, you have Absence Assistant, an Employee Directory, and then on the financial side, you have a Requester bot and you have an Expense Inquiry bot. I do have descriptions at the end of this presentation that talk through some of the new ones that are coming. We'll talk about that more later. But PeopleBooks is a great place to go look at these and get more information on what exactly these do. All right, so what are the minimum requirements and what are the steps that would be taken to do these chatbots? Well, first off, you're going to need a subscription to Oracle Digital Assistant. This is a cloud-based platform application that is available for you, whether you're on-prem or already doing something in the cloud, whether it's a SaaS, some SaaS, or you're running PeopleSoft on OCI, or if you're running PeopleSoft on-prem or really anywhere else, you can leverage Oracle Digital Assistant. Second, you need to be at least on PeopleTools 857, 07 patch or higher. And then on the functional image, the PI, you're going to be looking at HCM at minimum image 31, financials 33, ELM 20, Campus 15, and CRM 18. And there's a reason for that. We'll talk through why you have to be on the functional image as well. Recently, they've delivered ability to use text messaging as well. So not only do you have to be on an actual internet browser, on your computer, on a phone, on a tablet, you can actually use text messaging as well. If anybody's familiar with Twilio, it's the same methodology that you would use to text in, for example, expense account or expense report receipts and that sort of thing. So Twilio is going to be the method to do text messaging. So that text messaging can also be essentially an interface to send in and interface with the chatbot. For that, same tools release, but for the functional image, you're going to need to be on a more recent image. In fact, the recent financials image 37 is the one that you'll need to be on for financials, and HCM 35. All right. So why do you need to have the tools and what do you need from the application? So from a tools perspective, as part of 85707, PeopleSoft's now delivered this chatbot integration framework, which is essentially a list of different features and functions and technology that will allow you to leverage then delivered chatbots. So you're going to have some PeopleSoft configuration changes. We're going to talk about that in a second. There's going to be install for your web server. and there's going to be skills that are going to come from Oracle Digital Assistant. All of these three things, or these three areas, are going to go into combination for you to actually be able to leverage these chatbots. So first off, let's talk about PeopleSoft. What comes in PeopleSoft? Well, you've got the application services, and this is a new area that many people may not know a lot about. It's something that is defined in people books, and you can go read up on it. But essentially, app services are reusable components that can. So there's a set of core app services that are reusable components that can be used for all chatbots. So, for example, like security authentication. There's also app services per application or chatbot. So, for example, extraction of absence information or requisition data. And I've got a little screenshot of some of the app services that we'll look at here in a second. So in addition to that, you'll have setup pages within enterprise components which will help you map the configuration of PeopleSoft to the chatbot that is in the Oracle Digital Assistant channel. So I don't know if I have a screenshot of that, but that's configuration in your enterprise components. And then you'll have the chatbot, or sorry, the chat client that will exist within the application itself. So here we can look at some application services, and you can see a few of them. These are all delivered, and they're essentially each one is a methodology that allows you to connect to the underlying data in the application. So here you can see this little service that is looking for employee balances. And if we look into under the covers here, we can see that there's some setup here. It's a 5-step setup to do this. Again, this is all delivered, but if you wanted to tweak this, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, or clone it and create your own app services, I think there's a multi-step process that you can get access to and read up on in people books to see how you're going to create your own app service. And again, that falls into the category of creating your own chatbots, which is different from the delivered ones that we're going to talk about today. But I do have some guidance at the end about creating your own chatbots. Okay, so beyond the PeopleSoft setup within the configuration, you also have the web server SDK, the chat client that you will need to import and install on the PeopleSoft web server. And then second, or the third component of this is the Oracle Digital Assistant. So for Oracle Digital Assistant, think of this as the connector that houses all of the logic. And I have a little bit of compare, like what happens in ODA versus PeopleSoft. So we'll get into that in a second, and I'll show you what ODA looks like. But each skill within Oracle Digital Assistant, which I'll show you, each skill is like a chatbot. So one skill, one chatbot. There also is then a skill template that you can use as a starter kit to then create your own. Okay, let's talk specifically about ODA. So Oracle Digital Assistant is the cloud platform service that's available to all customers, whether you're on-prem or on the cloud. Within the ODA, you will be able to find skills, and within the skills, then each skill will have intents, entities, dialog flows, and I'll show you a little bit of these different components that make up these different skills here in a second. So here you can see, opening up Oracle Digital Assistant, you can see that these skills are available. Now, there has been a change from earlier this year where the skills were delivered as part of your functional image that you could, once you got the recent image of financials or HCM, you would have access to these skills directly within there. That's now all shifted into ODA specifically. And there's some key advantages to that, to having them part of ODA. So now you'll be able to buy them through the skill store, which you can see there as the fourth item under development called store. So once you have these skills through the store, you can import them in, and they become skills within your area. And we'll talk about that a little bit more about how you get those skills through the skill store. Once you have the skill, you can import it, and then this is what the skill looks like. So in this case, this is an absence assistant skill, which again equals a chatbot. So absence assistant chatbot. In this case, we took the delivered one, we cloned it, and we made it our own. And that was kind of the old way you do it. And the new way, you can actually extensibility toolkit, you can actually take the delivered chatbot, like the absence assistant, and you can actually add your own customizations into it. And due to the fact that now it comes through the skill store, it's fully supported with this extensibility kit, and extensibility framework, all of your changes will be retained when Oracle delivers updates to these skills. And that's a key benefit now to the skill store. So what happens in ODA? What happens in PeopleSoft? Well, ODA handles all of the natural language processing, okay, the NLP. ODA creates and maintains a channel, which is the pipeline from PeopleSoft into ODA and back. It also handles the conversational logic, so what it's looking for, and then the dialogue flow, which is taking that logic of what it's receiving and flowing it into a standard way of answering questions. And then, of course, it has connectivity into PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft now, of course, maintains the source data. Of course, you've got all your data, your absence data, all your HCM data, all your financials data, campus data. That's all your source data is going to stay right there in PeopleSoft. It has the underlying application logic. That's the app services that we talked about, the app service framework that connects into those components of data. PeopleSoft has the user interface, that chat client. And then PeopleSoft also handles the messages. And I'm going to show you later how you can manage the messages. So in ODA, it might reference a message set, but in PeopleSoft, you can tailor that message to your organization. And later on, I show you exactly how you're going to do that. So visually, you can see that there's sort of starting the top left, you got PeopleSoft with a functional image. You've got these chatbots, and the opening up this chatbot, creating that connection into ODA allows you to then type in that request. It goes through ODA, through the ODA channel, and uses all of this logic and horsepower in ODA, comes over back into PeopleSoft to authenticate, to get app services, so get that data sets, bring that data back into ODA and push it back through the chat client. So there's kind of a request loop and then a response loop back, okay? And I'm not gonna get into the technical details too much here, but basically you just need to understand that PeopleSoft and ODA are connected. So ODA, I want to throw up a couple slides about how you would license ODA. So there's two ways to license ODA. The first is to work with your app sales, your Oracle app sales representative, and you can purchase the ODA platform for Oracle applications. So ODA platform for SaaS. Now, I wish they didn't say SaaS because it's used for PeopleSoft as well. But this is sort of the method. And under this method, you can either do it per employee, so your total headcount, or you can do it based on named users. So in case you have some kind of application for your chatbot that actually has named users, you can go that route. The more common one would be, of course, based on your headcount. So you didn't have to worry about, managing, 500 named users. The second method is actually looking at it from a technology perspective. You can actually purchase or sign up if you, let's say, you already have a cloud tenancy. Let's say you're on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or you have some kind of cloud footprint. You can just start using it and purchase this through your Oracle Tech Rep. In this case, you're going to pay per request, and the minimum is 250 requests per hour. That's a lot, and it actually ends up being very expensive. So the cheapest model here you want to know is the per employee model, depending on if you are in that 1,000 to 2,000 employee range or less. If you've got a lot more employees, you might need to think about a different model. But this is the cheapest model, and this list price for this per employee minimum 1,000 is about $2,000 per month. Okay, so that's not cheap, and that, again, that's list price. So you can work with your Oracle app rep to perhaps get a discount on that, but it's not cheap. And so you're not gonna do this until you've got a real significant use case here for your chatbots, or you look at it as a replacement for individuals, like I mentioned in that use case before, where people are actually spending time answering questions for people. And you can actually look at the ROI that way. How much are you spending for that position? And can we retool that person into something else and automate this? And by doing that, you can kind of look at your ROI that way. But the bottom line is, this isn't cheap. Once you buy it, you turn it on, you can use it for anything. So you want to be thinking about this in terms of not just, I'm going to turn on one chatbot, but I'm probably going to go with a whole chatbot strategy about how we're going to use it in these different places where it makes sense. We're really going to leverage it. So once you purchase that and you work that out through the app reps or the tech reps, you can then come into the skill store and you can actually pull in any of these PeopleSoft chatbots. Right now you can see the 4 plus the skill template. And later on, I have a list of the planned chatbots that will be coming in the future. So this list, probably a year from now, will be much longer. All right, so I'm going to do a quick check and make sure I don't have anybody asking any questions because I can't see that window. So it looks like there's no Q&A. So I'm going to keep going. If you have any questions, please put it into the Q&A window or Q&A specifically, and I'll answer those questions at the end. All right, let's go back into this. All right, let's do some demonstrations. So the first one, this one is going to be a demonstration of the absence assistant chatbot, okay? And I'm going to pause it every once in a while here to kind of show you what's going on. Okay, so once I'm in PeopleSoft, I'm going to click on the absence assistant chatbot. It's going to pull up the chat client, which we talked about. And I'm going to type in something. I want time off at Christmas. I tap that in, and I'm going to pause it. And I'm sorry that it actually skipped to the next one. So let me go back here. Let me start that over again. Apologize. Maybe I won't stop it. I'll just talk over it. So you're entering a request, and what this is called in the ODA language is called an utterance. Utterances are trying to be matched up with an intent. So it says, when does your absence begin? It's pretty confident that you're asking for an absence. You're typing in a response, December 15th. It asks you, when does it end? December 30th. You're telling it what the absence is the reason for it. If you want to provide details, what's the reason? I'm going to ask for personal time off. So you can see how easy this is to respond to. And here it has everything. To confirm you've requested vacation from December 15th to December 30th. Do you want to proceed? You click on yes, and all of a sudden your absence request has been submitted for approval. It's really that simple. In this case, I didn't need to learn anything. I simply need to know I need to open up an assistant here and then type in natural language, and the assistant then figured out what I wanted to do without me having to figure out what the computer, the system wanted to do. In that case, that's the paradigm shift that we talked about earlier, where this whole conversational interface allows the user to work within their natural language and for the system to use artificial intelligence to then understand what the user is wanting to do. So very easy. The absence assistant bot, very robust, very easy to use, and can be pushed out across your organization very easily. All right, let's go on to the next one. So in this one, I don't know if my audio is going to work, so I'll just explain this one. But in this one, I'm opening this up on my phone, and I want to point out a couple things. So first off, PeopleSoft works great on a phone. A lot of people don't realize that, but you can open up PeopleSoft, and once you're within the walls of your VPN, you can go straight into PeopleSoft. And of course, if you're using the Fluid interface, very easy to use. So that's the first thing I'll point out. But let me go ahead and start this video. And this is kind of a funny video. Oops, let's just go back here for a second. And 1 second here. And this one is a kind of a funny video. I recorded this. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it. But in this case, I'm logging in to, in this case, our own PeopleSoft instance. And here I'm clicking on this, all using my phone. And instead of typing it in because I'm on my phone, I'm going to actually speak it with my microphone. Killing me. Now, in this case, Marcus is my boss. And I'm saying, Marcus is killing me. This was just for fun. But I'm saying, Marcus is killing me. And I had configured it behind the scenes to understand whatever you said, Marcus, it would understand you need time off. Okay. So again, example. But I'm saying that I want time off today. It understands what I meant by today. I'm going to say 1 month from now for my absence when it's going to end. Again, it understands that, and it says, please select your absence name. And if you want partial day details or attachments, say no, give it an absence reason. And I'm going to say some time off. And you want to provide comments, no. And here, point out that it recognizes that exactly today, a month from now, it knows that's 168 hours. It says, is that what you want? And you say yes. And so bottom line here is I didn't have to go look at the calendar to say, exactly what day. Of course, in real life, you probably would look at your calendar and say what exactly when my day's off. But I want to do this as a funny example, but also to show you that this application can learn to find things like a name or a word, and it can pass that into a specific dialogue flow. In this case, it's taking the name of my boss, which again is something you wouldn't do in real life, but I'll show you another example later that of something you might want to do. And it can pass you into a dialogue flow into a specific set of actions like an absence request. All right, let me go on to the next demo here. This one is just going to show you a requester bot. So moving from the HCM example to the financials example, this is the requester bot looking at requisitions. So here I'm using natural language. Where's my monitor? It doesn't understand what monitor is. So it asks, do you mean an item description? If so, it asks me to write it in again, which I don't love that aspect of it. But again, you could teach it and make it learn a little bit better. In this case, it said, here are a few examples of requisitions that you have. And it said, which one do you want? And I said which one I wanted to look at. And it gives me the scheduled due date for the shipment. And there I'm just saying, thanks. And so again, I don't even know the requisition number. Most people don't keep track of their requisition numbers. Very easily to just say, hey, where's my stuff? And it'll ask you some questions. What do you mean by that? Get you the right area, and then it will pass information to you that's important to where your shipment is. Okay. All right. So let's take a look a little bit closer at ODA and do a little demo here of ODA. So in this case, we talked a little bit about how when you have these different skills, once you pull them from the skill store, these are like pre-built templates. And just as of 6 months ago, or maybe even 4 or 5 months ago, the only way you could do this is you could import the skills, and then you had to clone them and make them your own. And of course, the problem with that is that is lifecycle management. What happens if Oracle makes a change or an update or a fix to one of these bots? You have to then basically re-update all of your changes. All of that is now improved now with the extensibility kit. And you can see here in this shot that the screenshot that you can actually extend one of these chatbots by putting in your own logic on top of what's in there. You can clone it and create your own. Once, of course, you clone it, then you're just like a save as. You no longer get the updates from Oracle. But you can also do some other features, and this is rapidly improving. So I would say they're doing a lot of changes here. I know when I first started looking at this, and then I did a presentation on this about 3 or 4 months ago, it's already improved over what I saw back then. And so I'm very happy to see all of the updates that Oracle is bringing here. Again, one skill per PeopleSoft Chatbot. I think I mentioned that already. Okay. So let's take a look at, this is an example of me going in and actually updating the ODA skill real time as I'm actually playing with the chatbot. Okay. So here, actually, yeah, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to click on the absence chatbot. And in here, I'm going to type something that it's not going to understand. So let me, I'm going to type in need help, okay? And it says up there, sorry, I do not understand your input. Please rephrase or select. Now, this is something pretty basic, need help, right? So I'm like, well, it should really know what that means. So here I'm going into the skill and I'm going to check in on this intent here called entry greeting. I'm going to come into entry greeting and I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to look at the utterances. And obviously it didn't understand help. So I'm going to add help to the entry greeting. And by clicking on, typing in help, hitting return, you can see right there that I've got help in there as now a new utterance that it understands. And when it sees that help, it's now going to push me right into the dialogue flow of the entry greeting. So now I say help, and now you can see, yep, okay, hello, John Patterson. I can help you with your absence and tasks and queries, okay? So you can see how easy it is to update the utterances and get it to now do exactly what you want to do. Now, here I'm going to type in another item. I'm going to say, I want to get away. I think this is the Southwest logo, right? I want to get away. Now, I'm not even typing in English. I say I wanna, right? I want to get away. This is not really English. It doesn't actually matter. The intents don't actually have to be English. It just has to match what it sees, right? And it's doing this algorithm just to try to catch what it sees. So in this case, I come in here and I want to go use an example in my utterance. I want to put in get away, or maybe I want to say get space away. And maybe I want to type in a multiple because I want to capture any way somebody might type this in. And anytime they say that, I want that to flow into an absence request. Okay. So here you can see those get away and get away are both now registered as an utterance. And if I come back, this is real time. There's no video editing of this. So this is all real time. I say, I want to get away. All of a sudden, it automatically real time knows that you want an absence. Okay. So that's a very powerful, but very simple example of how quick it is to update these utterances to keep it in sync with your organization's language, or in cases where you just want to add more utterances and that sort of thing to your chatbot. Okay, so this is just a quick little screenshot of how you would go into the skill and update the utterance. So I wanted to give that screenshot as well, but same concept. Okay, now you'll notice if anybody was noticing the actual language on that entry greeting, you would notice that it actually said, this is not a real person, contact help at SpearMC, and here's a phone number. Now, of course, it says SpearMC. Well, you're saying, well, that's not delivered, right? PeopleSoft, Oracle didn't deliver us a chatbot that said SpearMC, right? That's very easy to configure as well. So I'm going to show you how to manage those messages. And so in this case, what I did is I'm going into what's called the components, which is essentially all the Java scripting that manages all of the dialogue flow and all this stuff. Now, you're not going to go tackle this and try to modify this unless you really know what you're doing with JavaScript. But if you're going to write your own, you're going to have to understand this stuff. But if you use delivered, you can come in here, you can look at it, you can deconstruct it a little bit, and that's what I've done here. So in this case, I've opened up this component piece, and I've looked for the entry greeting, and I found it down here on the 1858th line, and I noticed that it's calling the message catalog 17448 and message set number 152. All right, so I can go back. As I mentioned, the messages are housed in PeopleSoft, not in ODA. So I can go back into PeopleSoft. I can find that message catalog 17448, message number 152, and I can modify this to actually put whatever I want in here. When this is in a delivered way, it doesn't say anything other than I can help you with your absence tasks and queries. I supplemented it with saying, please note that I'm a chatbot. If anything goes wrong here, please contact a real person, and you can call this number or email this support at my organization. This is a simple way to ensure that the power of chatbots and the automation of chatbots isn't undercut with a poor rollout, right? Very simple to add some human elements. Chatbots aren't going to work for everybody. Some people are going to try out a chatbot, and we've all had this experience. You try out a chatbot, and it just frustrates the heck out of you because it doesn't understand what you want. And can I just talk to a real person? So you want to supplement these things with something very simple like this, where it says, "Hey, look, if anything goes wrong, just call this number. Just let me know, right? And, or just talk to a real person, right? Let's get out of the chatbot. Let's make sure we keep you moving with what you need to do." So very simple to do this. Very simple to manage these messages. All right. Gets into a little bit of technical stuff with the chatbot setup, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just know that these are the setup steps are going to include your web server setup, your ODA, and your PeopleSoft. This is a bit of a flow chart on how you do the implementation flow, which includes the web SDK, and then setting up a proxy user in PeopleSoft. And there's some other steps here that I'm not going to go through all the steps, but these are defined, and we offer some training and we do implementations of this, of course. But we can help you guys get set up and get running with this. This is a one-time setup into your PeopleSoft application, and it's probably not something that you care about getting really good at. So we can help you with this, of course, and get this setup going for you. Once you have that, then there's still some more configurations. This is the second part of the process flow, and there's going to be some more actions that you need to take. Technically, this is a little bit more granular than what you saw before in the previous graphic, but I kept it so that you could see the flow of a request and then the response. So in this case, again, start in the upper left. You've got a chat client that's open, and somebody asks for a vacation balance. So it understands. It says the vacation balance in the chat client that's sent over through the channel into ODA, and ODA using natural language processing engine will try to match that with percentages and an algorithm to say, I think what they want is an absence balance, and that's in the entity vacation. Okay, so it's captured that. It goes down through this Node.js container, which is part of ODA, that these custom components that will then connect PeopleSoft to ODA. So it uses this container, connects through a RESTful service into PeopleSoft, looking for the app service get employee balance. It goes into that app service, authenticates to the core services, and looks to fetch with a query the vacation balance for the user that has already been identified through that authentication. So that's the request. Kind of a loops around to the end back into the database. The response now says, okay, I found 72 hours in my vacation balance. I'm going to, just like a query, you're going to send that query through. It's going to send that 72 hours back. That response is sent back to ODA. ODA, using variables and other parameters, are going to push that into the dialog flow, and then push that 72 hours back into an actual conversation and message back into the chat client and say, you have 72 hours. Okay, so that's how the request comes through, finds the 72 hours, and the 72 hours is then sent back through into a conversational response. So there's this constant loop around and back. Okay, so that's kind of, again, very technical here, and that's not the point of this session today. But essentially, this is at a high level how it works. Okay, so kind of coming down the home stretch here, you can build your own as well. So we'll talk through that just here in a second, and then we'll wrap up. All right. So if you want to build your own, Oracle is providing you a template for you to build your own chat. Now, you could previously, and people have been building chatbots for several years now, even using other backend natural language processors, so not even ODA. So if you wanted to, you could build everything yourself within PeopleSoft and create a chatbot that launches through using a different non-Oracle digital assistant. But I'm here to tell you, why would you do that, right? Because you've got ODA that's ready to go for you. You've got PeopleSoft that whether you use this functionality or not, Oracle has now delivered the whole chatbot integration framework for you in your PeopleSoft instance. It's all quite ready to go. So in addition to that, you now have the skill template, which is a pre-built template ready to go that has ability to then match up with your app service. So let's say you wanted to build your own. You can leverage app services that are already built. So things like authentication or aspects of the user. So those are the core pieces. Or it could pull in data elements that are already listed in one of the other app services. So you can do that, or you can build your own app services or supplement with new app services. And that's, again, 5-step process listed in PeopleBooks to do that. You then pull the skill template, and then you build out your intents, utterances, dialogue flow, and then you train the skill. That last step, number 3, probably the hardest one and going to take you the longest to actually build it all yourself, okay? That's not going to be something for the faint of heart. It's not going to be something that somebody dives into without some specific developer skills. So if you were a developer, if you have some technical folks who want to dive into this, there needs to be an understanding of ODA. There needs to be an understanding of these app services in PeopleSoft. And you'll need to then know how to then build a skill. And the best way for this is to deconstruct a delivered one to understand how it works, to then build your own. And of course, knowledge of JavaScript is going to be fundamental to be able to write your own JavaScript. As I mentioned, lifecycle management. So if you're using the delivered chatbots, they will be using delivered app services on the application and the delivered skills on ODA. Those app services will come in future PIs and future images, so you can consider doing selective adoption to pulling in some of these new chatbots. And I'll have a list of some of the new chatbots that are coming in the future. So you can consider bringing that in selective adoption, or you can just get current, of course, go all the way forward and get that logic. But those app services are going to be fundamental to then using the chatbot. In ODA, as I mentioned, you'll be able to extend any of the existing chatbots or skills. And when you then make modifications to it, let's say you've added your own utterances, something like that, you'll always then be able to rebase for when Oracle's delivering fixes to these chats or enhancing the chatbots skills. You will be able to rebase and bring in and retain all your changes. This is a huge improvement with lifecycle management that only came out within the last couple of months. Okay. Here are a few of the chatbots that are coming in the future. So we've got on the HCM side, we've got more on the payroll side. We've got benefits, recruiting, HR help desk, and ELM. And then on the and by the way, each of these are described more completely in the appendix. So if you want to pull that PowerPoint, you'll be able to see a better detailed descriptions of each of these areas. Supplier portal, e-settlements, e-bill payment, financial snapshot, my wallet, and supply chain. These are the areas that are coming. Again, once Oracle's kind of figured out the secret sauce of ODA and the app services, now it's just going and building them and just delivering all these new chatbots. Again, if you purchase the chatbots through your app rep, then you'll be able to then just use all these chatbots as they come out. We really see this as the way of the future. Of course, it's already in play. People are doing chatbots right now, and we are here, of course, to help you with any of that. Either just getting you going with some of the technical setup, or actually taking you all the way through and either delivering or implementing delivered ones, or building new ones. So that's what we're here for. And with that, I'm going to end the presentation, but I'm going to now switch over and just see if there's any questions. So let me stop sharing. And again, my name is Cameron McClurg, and my information is there if you want to chat with me. So we do have a few Q&A questions. So I'm gonna going to start. I'm going to do my best with the questions. All right. My boss, Marcus, is telling me that my absence request was denied. Well, that makes sense. All right, I'm going to skip that question. All right, so Adam Bowling, you mentioned that each skill was a bot. How separate are these bots? Will the users need to know which bot they should be going to depending on their questions? Is there any kind of master bot to direct them to the correct area or some way to transfer users between bots? Those are all fantastic questions. For right now, you can see the different tiles that I showed you with those screenshots. Those tiles get you into a one-off specific bot. Dave Bain is the, and Matthew Havisto, I think I saw Matt on this one. They're the ones can answer what's going to happen in terms of having master bots and one bot that can control multiple bots. Right now, that's not available, but I do believe it's going to be in their roadmap. So right now, it is specific to one specific area. So as a user would come in, they would want to go into absence bot or they go into HCM directory bot. Hopefully in the future, that'll actually be, there will be one bot that can answer both of those. All right, from Kim Mioza. Is there a way to test this and use it in a sandbox type environment before purchasing the ODA? We are attempting a POC for chatbots. It would be helpful to use it and see if it's something my organization would consider implementing someday. The previous session mentions contacting technical sales rep. How would we go about that? Okay, so let me unpack this a little bit. First off, I'm going to speak on behalf of Oracle, which means that you can take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt because I'm not Oracle. I'm SpearMC, or I'm part of SpearMC. But my experience, and I believe this is still true, is that when you turn this on through your Oracle Cloud platform, that you will get a certain a trial time that you will not be charged for. That is what happened for us, and I believe that will happen for you too. I believe it's about 3 months, but your tech rep can answer that question. If you have no idea who your tech rep or your app rep is, ask around. You certainly can ask us. We can look it up for you as well, or we can ask around on your behalf. But certainly they can answer those questions about how you can actually try it out before actually implementing it. Unfortunately, there's no sandbox environment for you to play with other than just signing up, and then the clock is ticking until you actually get charged for it. So be aware of that, and note that you do need to figure out within those first couple months if it's something you want to keep using. Otherwise, you're going to want to turn off that ODA, or you do. I know that I learned that the hard way. All right. Next question. How can we try chatbots, POC, and FSCM before purchasing? Okay, I think I just answered that. So I'm going to move on. Okay, another question. Marcus is not everyone's boss. Okay, I think Marcus would love it if that was true, but that is not true. So you're right, he's not everybody's boss. Can you set up your boss's names as keywords for a vacation request? Yes, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't show me typing in Marcus as an utterance, but that is exactly what you could do. Now, be careful of that, of course, because you don't want to, my example was, of course, kind of a silly example. You probably wouldn't want to do this in real life. But the point is that it's very easy to add these utterances, and those utterances then get matched up with that dialogue flow. And so your question is, can we type in more keywords? Yes, you can type in more keywords. Now, if a keyword is in multiple of these entities, just be aware of that it's going to try to figure out which one you're looking for. You were looking for absence request, or are you looking for a different entity? Okay, so it's going to use logic to try and figure out what you're doing, and so you might need to be specific in the utterances that you add. All right, great. And Matthew Havisto actually answered a question here about currently, and I'll just read it out so for anybody who hasn't seen this. So currently the PS bots are single skill. However, we are working to make them general or universal bots in the future. where a user can ask any question of PeopleSoft and they won't have to go to a specific bot like AbsenceBot. So happy that Matthew jumped in on that one, and that's what we would love to see as well. So happy that that's what they're working on. All right, Tim Patterson, I'm sorry if I missed this, but how does ODA know who it is conversing with to get data from PeopleSoft HCM? So that's that authentication framework that it knows. That's the channel and connection that's already built in. So you don't go into ODA separately. You're coming in after you're already authenticated in PeopleSoft. So PeopleSoft already knows who you are, and it's passing that into ODA. And then when ODA comes back for, let's say, your vacation balance, it already is looking for that specific person. So that's already built into the delivered framework that exists. And so if you want to know beyond that how exactly it works, I'm going to point you to Matthew Havisto, who will probably tell you exactly how that works. But just know that it does work, and it already knows who you are because you're already logged into PeopleSoft. All right. What happens if you happen to enter the same utterance, like getaway, into two different dialect triggers? Will give you a duplicate warning or something similar. So that's what I was mentioning before. It's going to try and figure out, it uses percentages to figure out, I'm 90% confident you're asking for X. And so I'm going to flow you into that dialogue flow. I did play with this and have done this. And when you have the same one and it's 50-50, it does ask a follow-up, you can have it ask a follow-up question. Do you mean this, right? And so that's what you saw when I did the requisition. I said, where's my stuff? And it thought I was looking for something based on the item description. I said, where's my monitor? And it says, are you looking for something based on item description? So it's guessing at what you want, and then you can answer yes or no, and then it's got you. It's got you in a dialogue flow. So it's going to use that kind of logic to try to figure out where you're going. If it's 50-50, it might ask a follow-on question to get you into a proper flow. All right, can you show again the new chatbots coming for HCM and ELM? So Anna, that'll be in the deck. So feel free to open up the deck and see that list. I believe, I'm not sure if that's in PeopleBook somewhere. I don't think it is, but you can see that probably from one of Matthew or Dave's presentations as well. All right, FSCM, where is my payment per example from supplier? So I don't totally understand your question, Teddy. Feel free to connect with me through email, and I'll put I think you probably have my email address, but I'll flash that up there again. Maybe connect with me afterwards. I'm not exactly sure what your question is. If you're asking about a new chatbot, then I can't speak too much to the functionality of the new chatbots other than what's been has already been communicated. All right, and Kim, thank you. You're welcome. Anna, are you updated? As you updated PeopleSoft delivered message catalog entries with chatbot functionality, you need to retrofit after PUM update, correct? That's a good question. So the question is, do the message set and numbers and message set and the message catalog, do those survive image updates? Because it's configuration, I believe it does. I need to check on that, but I do believe that those, because it's configuration, it will survive image updates. And Matthew Havisto, if you're still on, if you want to just type in the answer to that question, I do believe message catalog entries and updates do survive image updates, but maybe you can answer that one in there. All right, Tim, can ODA be entered from another endpoint other than PeopleSoft? Yes, ODA is a centralized Oracle platform that is built for all of the Oracle applications, including SaaS applications, but ODA actually can be used for non-Oracle applications as well. So it's as long as you have the correct hookups into ODA, it can be used. I am not an expert in ODA as a standalone entity, but I do know that it can be used for non-PeopleSoft use cases. All right, and then Teddy, just asking about the e-settlements chatbot. So again, that's listed in the PowerPoint with a description of what's in the e-settlements one. And again, that's coming in the future. So check back for that. And okay, and with that, it's 2 o'clock. So I appreciate lots of great questions. I hope you learned something through this session, and appreciate everybody's time. And feel free to connect with me through email or phone if you have any follow-on questions. But I do appreciate your time today, and I'm hoping that you go out and explore this, because I think it's really fun, and I think it can add a lot of value for the organizations that you're part of. So definitely consider it, and hopefully we'll talk soon. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a good day.